Hi, this is the design of the voice in the head. And I'm here to communicate about voices in the head, voices in the mind that you believe to be real, that you believe to be true, and upon those perceptions you live by it and you act on it. Voices, for instance, such as, I'm not good enough to do this. Oh no, I'm not able to do this. Not at all, no. I'm just going to give up now. I'm just going to walk away. No, this doesn't feel right. No, this doesn't, I don't feel it to be true enough. Voices such as those, which continuously run around in your head, which you actually take the time of day to consider. Now, such voices in their head are like thoughts, but not completely. They're actually voices. They sound like there's another being inside you speaking to you, saying and stating words and sentences that are of absolute limitation to who you really are. And then you think that these voices in the head is actually you, and that's when you fall. That's when you fall into the ultimate trap of the mind, which is the voices in the head. So you have voices in the head and you have thoughts. The difference between the two, the thoughts is, just a quick memory reconciliation of the past, whereas the voices in the head are actually like a being speaking to you. In the cartoons they have the little devil and the little angel on your shoulders, and then the two go communicating the whole time. One says this, the other one says that. The inner conflict of the polarity equation of the mind. So I have some forgivenesses that I would suggest you apply immediately when you notice such voices in your head. Whenever you hear a voice in your head, stop, because it is not you. You don't listen to that voice in any way whatsoever. You do not give that voice any consideration whatsoever. But be careful, because curiosity killed the cat. There is a tendency to want to follow the voice in the head, to want to consider that voice in the head, because maybe, just maybe, that voice might be correct. Just maybe, I'm missing something out. I should hear this voice, just give it a time of day. No, do not. It is not you. It is the voice of the mind. The voice in the head is the voice of the mind. It is a mind consciousness system speaking to you. It is not you. So, firstly, realize this, that this voice, the same as thoughts, is not you. Then you continue with your forgiveness processes. I forgive myself that I have allowed myself to give this voice of the mind any consideration over me whatsoever. I forgive myself that I have allowed myself to trust this voice in the head instead of trusting myself. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to give power to this voice in the head instead of taking my power and standing up as who I am. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to fear maybe missing out on something if I do not allow myself to hear this voice in my head. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to believe that this curiosity within me is me. I forgive myself that I haven't allowed myself to realize that this voice in the head is not me. I forgive myself that I haven't allowed myself to realize that this voice in the head is the voice of the mind. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to actually consider that this voice in the head just might be right. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to be inferior to the voice in their head, and rather listen to the voice in their head than stand as who I am and live as who I am within oneness and equality. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to fear that I might be missing out. And thus, the curiosity grows with regards to the voice in the head. I forgive myself that I haven't allowed myself to stop the voice in the head. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to define myself according to the voice in the head. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to think that I might be going crazy because of the voice in the head. I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to fear myself, and instead I'd rather listen to the voice in the head to guide and direct me instead of me directing myself. I forgive myself that I haven't allowed myself to stand as who I am and to direct myself in every moment, but instead I've allowed myself to listen to a voice in the head. I forgive myself that I haven't allowed myself to live words as one, as me, as who I am, but instead in separation by listening to a voice in the head. So, there are some forgiveness applications, suggestions, self-forgiveness applications and suggestions on the voice in the head, or you're able to just go stop. Just aloud, stop. Therefore we say, apply forgiveness aloud. Because if you apply forgiveness in your head, you're applying it as the voice in the head of a mind system. When you do it aloud, you are certain that it is you speaking it, because here I am speaking it. And you're also able to see, when you apply self-forgiveness aloud, where you are kidding yourself with the self-forgiveness. When you hear the words of the forgiveness as yourself, are there any reactions as you speak the words? Are there any thoughts as you speak the words? All that must remain when you speak self-forgiveness aloud is you as the words. Thank you very much. This is the design of the voice in the head.
So, with regards to the design of voices in the head, here's my personal experience of allowing the voice as the personality of Andrea to be designed through myself from when I was very, very young to a point where I was sabotaging myself into adulthood, into accepting certain limitations. So, as a youngster, I experienced, trouble bonding and having an intimate relationship with my father. And the minute that happened, where my father had adult depression and he distanced himself from me, these voices started talking to me as my personality, as my mind. Started talking to me and saying to me, why isn't Daddy loving me? Why isn't Daddy talking to me? Maybe something is wrong with me. And when my father died, the voices then took that, and it became more so from the perspective of the voice starting to give more reasons why my father never loved me, and that perhaps his death could be blamed on God, and that in the time that he was here, he shunned me. There must be something wrong with me. And this was different from, as you can relate to your own life experiences, where this is different from random thoughts, as is mentioned in this interview. These are actual thoughts that are reactions to experiences one is having, that then becomes a voice, as your mind, that speaks to you, that starts having conversations with you, that starts taking moments and giving feedback on that, and compounding it, and making it worse, and making it more. So by the time that I turned, I would say, like 15, 16, 17, I had created my personality, as someone who believed and was telling myself on a day-to-day basis that I was not good enough. Something was wrong with me. I was not to be loved. And that my father, your father is supposed to be, here's an example of what the voice would do. Your father is one who's supposed to love you and take care of you. And he pushed you away, Andrea, so there's something wrong with you. Obviously at that age, now I'm able to look back at this and see it for what it was, but at that age, as most of us experience when we're growing up, we don't have insight into why things happen. We're not able to look at things for what they are. For example, I'm able to look back now and see that my father had his own childhood issues that he had not known how to deal with. He had his own voices in his head that were directing him. He had adult depression, severe adult depression, and that caused him to pull away from his family and from his daughters. It had nothing to do with me. And I know that now, but that has taken me many, many years of working with self-forgiveness and writing and self-honesty, brutal self-honesty, to realize that it was not about me and it's never about you, meaning I could not possibly not be loved by somebody, because you cannot possibly be loved by somebody, meaning if the other person, you perceive that the other person is loving you, there's no rays of love that are actually resonating from that person, infiltrating your body through your skin and into you. Therefore, you are receiving love from another. That is a self-created reaction that you are generating through the mind in response to what you think another is experiencing towards you. And this is what we as society, as the human, have come to accept as emotions and feelings, that we think another feels or thinks something about us, and then we, in response to that, have a reaction, then we feel loved. But this is, if you look at it self-honestly, you are the one who is reacting and responding to what you think, and you are generating that feeling inside of yourself. And the same happened when I started listening to the voice in my head that was telling me that my father didn't love me and therefore something was wrong with me. I then started feeling unloved, and I started feeling sad and feeling depressed. Therefore, I was creating responses within me from what I had observed other adults doing based on what I could see their emotional and feeling patterns were. So obviously children observe the adults around them and watch how they go into emotion and feeling self-manipulation patterns, and they call this real. And then children adapt themselves to that and copy what other adults do and then become that. So I listened to the voices in my head. By the time I was about 23, the voices in the head spiraled to the point where I had then created such a self-image that I believed that there was something wrong with me and that I had to settle for a male that would accept me. So I did that. I placed myself in a relationship that started with him absolutely adoring me, which was my self-talk saying to me, go for this guy, he adores you. Then when the verbal abuse and the mental abuse and the emotional abuse started, what did my voice in my head say to me? It's okay, Andrea, this guy's providing for you and he loves you, and yes, he says really nasty things to you, but he's just having some issues in his life, and you can't be too picky. So those were the voices in my head that were then using the compounding of beliefs, self-beliefs over time to again manipulate me into further abusive situations. And by the time the relationship turned physically abusive, where this man was strangling me until I would pass out and bashing my head against walls, my voice in my head, as he was bashing me, would actually say to me, it's okay, Andrea, it's okay. He actually loves you. He's just having a tough time. And this I did for 5 years. So what I'm saying here is that each one of us has a voice in the head that talks to us, that tells us about things and gives us perspectives. Where this is not supportive, as I've just given in my own example here, is that we separate ourselves so extensively from walking here simply in your body, breathing, participating, taking care of yourself, doing what needs to be done to take care of yourself and to exist here in this physical reality. We've separated ourselves so far into experiences that we want to have and that we believe we should be having, that come from how we were taught throughout childhood, that the voice in the head completely convinces us of where we should go, what we should do, what we should eat. And we've come to believe that this voice in the head, as the mind, is the truth. It is who I am. It is me. And it took me quite a few years to realize, even just the simplistic realization, that the voice in my head was not what was best for me. Because this voice in my head, first of all, which is something that I suggest you consider, is not even anything other than a childhood voice that is trying to take the information of what is happening to you and giving you something to work with. It is coming from a point of survival. It is coming from a point of wanting to feel loved, wanting to protect yourself around other people. So even if you say to me, but Andrea, the voices in my head only have good things to say to me, it is still a voice in your head that comes from data that is being collected from childhood, that is being observed and being responded to as a voice. And it is always based on survival. It is always based on trying to protect you, trying to make you feel better, or accepting a certain limitation about you as ugly, fat, thin, clever, not able to, more than others, not more than others, rich, poor. And the voice in the head, and the basic design of the voice in the head is such that I have found that my own voice in my head was based on polarity, and that it could not be trusted, because as soon as I stopped any participation in any voice that is trying to protect me by giving me constant loops of feedback in my mind, and I simply stopped that and simply stood here as my physical and said, okay, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to live, and I'm going to express me. I'm going to stop participating in the voice of the head, because that voice in the head is like the devil's advocate. One day it is saying to me, oh, Andrea, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? The next day it's saying to me, what a good girl. You did so well. Oh my God, that person was so impressed with you. Did you see that? Did you see the way he looked at you? And then the next day it'll be, oh, you're so fucking stupid. Why did you do that? So, I mean, that the entire design of the voice in the head, if you look at your own experience, you could even respond to this interview that my voice in my head only has nice things to say, but really, look at the polarity system on which it is based, because if you did not do the good things that you did to get the voice in your head at this point in your life to say things like, you're doing well, you're a good person, you deserve nice things. If you didn't do that, and things came crashing down around you, that voice in your head would use simple manipulation techniques to get you to pick yourself up again. Therefore, the voice in the head is based on survival. It is a design which comes from the mind consciousness system, which is there from young to use information and events that are happening to you to drive you to be a better functioning system within the current world systems. It is not life. It is not supporting us to live here as the physical. And therefore, a lot of people will argue, why should I stop my mind? Why should I stop the voice in my head? Oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm going to turn into a zombie. No, you simply stop participating in this voice, which is a design to keep you surviving as the mind, up, down, feeling good, feeling bad, having judgments about others, whether they're doing things which you perceive as good or bad. Just stop the voices in the head and breathe and be here and move yourself. In the physical, I eat, I walk, I talk, I express myself. And once you stop the voice and you simply work with writing it out, forgiving, letting it go, and working with the simplicity of, I am here, accept me fully, here as the physical. That is not a quick and easy thing. Many of us have worked for many years with this point and continue working with it because of the layers. What I'm saying is, you work with the simplicity of accepting yourself here as the physical, as the breath, and you let go of the idea that I must try and fit into this idea and belief of myself as what I am, as this picture in my mind. Once you stop that and you accept yourself, here, I'm here already, then you start stopping the voice in the head that goes, oh, come on, man, but you know, and all of that. So if you want further perspectives on this, please join us on the Introduction to Destiny forum, or you can join us on the Demonology forum, where we'll assist you in stopping the voices in the head and getting back to the clarity of everything that I've referred to within this interview. Thank you very much.